let's talk about the 49ers running back. So the Niners had one of the best running backs in the league in Jordan Mason. He was doing a great job. He was on pace for what, like 1,500 yards? Hell of a season, running harder than just about anyone else in the league. Christian McCaffrey comes back, they bury him. And, McCaffrey, they wait until after the bye week. He plays in Tampa, makes a nice catch, but the burst isn't there. He's not breaking tackles. He doesn't see the holes. He's really not an effective ball carrier, still a good receiver. Last week against the Seahawks, same thing. Not really a good ball carrier, doesn't have the burst, the speed, isn't breaking tackles, isn't making people miss, isn't seeing holes. He's getting hit and going down. 2 weeks. You saw it for 2 weeks. I could see Kyle Shanahan thinking maybe week 3 is the charm. 3rd week back, McCaffrey's going to be better. We'll see. Gave him a chance. You gave him this contract extension in the offseason, so I understand not throwing him out and saying, yo, you're not ready, and Jordan Mason's better. But Jordan Mason's better. And Kyle saw, everyone saw early in the game, like, this game wasn't going to be any different for Christian than the last 2. If Christian's going to snap out of this, it wasn't going to be tonight. That was clear early on. And so Kyle Shanahan made an adjustment in the passing game. He went from calling passes over the middle to passes to the sideline. That was the right adjustment. Now make a simple adjustment that anyone watching the game would suggest. Play Jordan Mason. Don't, or forget Jordan Mason. Play Isaac Guerrero. There's options, but don't keep force feeding one guy who's clearly struggling. He's the number 1 option in the offense when he shouldn't even be one of the top 3 right now. So that's a big one. I mean, when you have such a weapon at running back and you won't play him, and instead you're playing a guy who's not playing well at all, hard to win a game that way. And I think what's interesting is I asked Kyle Shanahan after the game, well, how'd you assess Christian McCaffrey? He wouldn't answer the question. He was like, our whole running game was bad. Well, Jordan Mason wasn't. You gave 1 carry to one other running back. He gained 16 yards. This was before garbage time. You can't say that the whole running game was bad. It was Christian. Sorry, Christian. I hate to do this. I don't want to rub it in Christian's face, because of all the players in the Niners, no one cares more than him. I'll tell you what I mean. After the game, the Niners lost by 28. And, this has been a bad season. It's not like you could argue that the season fell apart weeks ago. So it wasn't like the most depressing, quiet post-game locker room of all time. It was kind of business as usual, except for Christian. He stands and does an interview at his locker, to his freaking credit. Now, he didn't say anything ever, but he stood there like a man and took the questions and answered them. Then everyone walked away, and he sat down in his locker, sort of hunched over with his elbows on his knees, that pose, and just stared out across the room into space. Can you kind of picture that? Real stern look on his face, all by himself. No teammates went up to him and tapped him on the shoulder. I mean, that's the best player on the team, thinking about God knows what, with a real faraway look on his face. Now, I could guess what he's looking for, what he was thinking about. I have no idea. But when you see someone in that posture, with that face, after having a bad game, I mean, kind of feels like they're taking stock of their whole life, taking stock of their whole career. I mean, if I had to guess, I was thinking, I would think that he was thinking, am I washed up? Am I ever going to get my superpowers back? Because whatever made him great, whatever he used to be able to do on the football field, he can't do it anymore. So the vision, the burst, whatever clicked for him isn't clicking anymore. And now it must be incredibly frustrating for someone who was the best player in football last year to be like the problem this year. So he's sitting there looking like, I don't know, a combination of fuming angry and kind of depressed. And my heart went out to him, because I don't know if he'll ever bounce back. This may be it for him. He may never regain the form he had last year. This might be the beginning of the end of an excellent career, but this would be a sad way to go out. And we don't know what the future holds for him. He may have a great week next week. He may have a great season next year, but he also might not. This could be the end. And you saw it on his face. He had a grave look on his face. Look, Kyle, Christian knows that he doesn't have it right now. If you take him off the field and put in Jordan Mason, he'll get it. He'll understand. He's been taken care of. He's got guaranteed money next year. Financially, he's okay. This is all his own ego and legacy, which is legit. But he'll understand. Also, Kyle, there's got to be a way for you to get Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey on the field together. Because even if Christian McCaffrey isn't the same player he was last year, he's still a hell of a decoy. If you give him if you fake a handoff to Christian McCaffrey, it opens up the whole play action passing game. So there's so much you can do with Christian just as a decoy to get other people open, which you've been doing for years. I'd like to see you do that. You got to get them both on the field together. There's no rule against it. I looked it up. And a creative coach like you could think of a million ways to use them at the same time in the same plays and to have them actually enhance each other and the rest of the offense. I believe Kyle can do this. And I think one of the main reasons he hasn't is because we're telling him to. I've been saying it for weeks. Dante Whitner said it after the game. Like, he doesn't like suggestions. A lot of times, if you give him one, he'll do the opposite. So Kyle, whatever you do, don't give the ball to Jordan Mason. Don't ever play him and Christian McCaffrey together again, and stick with Brandon Allen. Doesn't matter if he has a broken finger. Stick with him. Crazy Rods, I believe Kyle plays CMC because of the guaranteed money. Clearly, Jordan Mason is better this season. I do think it would be a bad look after giving Christian McCaffrey, making him the highest paid running back in the league and giving him guaranteed money this year and next year, to just throw up your hands week 12 and be like, you know what? Funny thing is, Jordan Mason's better. You know, I don't know. That's what good coaches do. That's how good football teams operate. You play the best players no matter how much money they're making or where they were drafted. But it does seem, I can't actually believe that Kyle watches these two players play, Christian and Jordan, and says, yeah, Christian's better. Everyone watching these games understands that Jordan's better right now. It's not even close. Kyle's not stupid. He's not. He's stubborn. So I got to feel that this decision is for the wrong reasons. I think we all get it, and he needs to knock it off. Sorry. Vintage Robinson says, I realized Kyle wasted 40 draft picks since 2017. Dave Barkley says 7-10 season. I said 42-10 after 42-17 prediction. Good call, Dave. Oot now says between CMC and Mason should have been 50-50. Agree. You could argue it should have been 75-25 Mason, because McCaffrey really doesn't have it right now as a ball carrier. Bob Oso says, if I was Mason, under no circumstances would I stay on this team after this season, even if that means taking less money elsewhere. Unfortunately for him, he's a restricted free agent. Danny D says, this is absolutely 100% on Kyle Shanahan. McCaffrey is not 100%, and this coach refuses to alternate the backfield. Mason's the better runner right now. Kyle, are you listening? Gregorius Greg has been a member for 36 months. Thank you. Crazy Rod 16 says, Debo's hands was terrible. I'm sorry, is no hands.